You have an avoidant ex, either a dismissive one or a fearful one, and they broke up with you. They dumped you, and you went into no contact and are trying to move on with your life. But many times, especially when we get dumped by an avoidant ex, we are stuck. We can't quite move on, even when we know we should. So in this video, we're looking at the 7 signs that you can't let go of your avoidant ex, even though you know that you should. And number 7 just might be the most important of these reasons. So let's talk about it. Reason number 1, you're addicted to the intermittent reinforcement. You see, their unpredictable behavior actually creates stronger neural pathways in your brain than consistent love does. I know that sucks. And your brain became wired to crave that intermittent connection and intimacy. And because their connection and vulnerability was not consistent, their breadcrumbing actually feels more valuable to you than consistent love and steady availability. And because of the addictive nature that has been created here, it actually makes you dismiss consistent, healthier relationships, and they can feel boring to you. Reason number 2, you believe that you're the exception who can actually fix them. Especially if you have an anxious attachment style, you probably have a long history of getting into relationships with people who quote unquote need fixing or who are quote unquote broken. And you've seen glimpses of their capacity. You know that they could be an amazing partner for you. And you believe that maybe there's something different about you compared to everybody else that they've been with who couldn't actually get them to reach their full potential. And you think you're the one. And you feel special for being chosen by somebody who regularly avoids intimacy and vulnerability. And you're convinced that if you're patient enough and you're understanding enough, you will actually heal their attachment wounds. And this savior complex that you've cultivated for yourself actually keeps you invested in their potential rather than seeing this relationship for what it really is. And guess what? There's nothing that you can do that's going to fix them. And that's not your job anyway. Only they can fix themselves. And first they have to have the awareness that they have an issue. And then they actually have to put forth effort into fixing it. And the first step would be to work with a qualified therapist. You see, attachment wounds were formed in childhood. And with avoidance, there's the fearful avoidant and the dismissive avoidant. And the dismissive avoidant in particular was made to feel like their feelings didn't matter. What they were feeling was unimportant, or maybe they were even made to feel bad for expressing their feelings. And they learned at a young age that the best way to keep themselves safe and never get hurt again is to never let anybody in too close. The fearful avoidant is like that to a large degree as well, but their fear is more rooted in abandonment. Probably the most important people in their lives abandoned them at a young age, and they were made to feel like they didn't matter. Reason number 3, you're trauma bonded to this push-pull cycle. A trauma bond is a term that's often thrown around with narcissism, but it can really apply to any situation where 2 wounded people come together and try and make a relationship work, even though there's a lot of toxic attributes to it. And when you've got this kind of push-pull dynamic where one minute everything is amazing, the sex is amazing, and then the next minute they're pulling away without warning, they're pulling away without reason, they abandon you, they stonewall you, they give you the silent treatment, and you have no idea what the hell's going on. That push-pull dynamic can become addictive because the highs feel euphoric. There's that serotonin, that dopamine going on in your brain when things are really good. And especially if it comes right after a period of your ex being withdrawn. And you fool yourself into thinking, well, maybe if I just do things differently, maybe if I'm a better boyfriend or girlfriend, maybe they won't withdraw as often. Guess what? That's incorrect. And you've actually confused the intensity of this roller coaster ride with deep passion and love. And your nervous system has become adapted to the chaos. And now it wants more. And that's why when you do meet somebody who doesn't have childhood attachment wounds, doesn't have narcissistic tendencies or traits, it can feel boring because real love doesn't have those highs and lows, those peaks and valleys, those crazy periods of intensity and then complete chaos. Real love is not like that. And when you're used to the chaos, real love can feel completely unexciting. Real quick, if you like this video and you want to see more videos like it, give me a thumbs up and then destroy that subscribe button too. It's a great way to say thank you to me, helps me grow my channel, and I really appreciate it. Reason number 4, you're afraid of starting over with somebody new. It's daunting to get back out there in the dating world, especially if you're older like I am. It can be a pain in the ass. You have to go through the process of meeting somebody, meeting multiple people, going out on multiple dates, spending a lot of money, hoping that you find somebody that you connect with. And then you got to get on dating apps, and it's just a lot of work, a lot of effort, and kind of soul-sucking. And you feel like you've invested so much time with your ex that it's fruitless to start over. And starting over just feels completely overwhelming. And you worry that nobody will understand you the way they did, at least during their vulnerable moments. And the thought of explaining your story, meeting their family and friends, and building trust one more time feels exhausting. And holding on to your ex, even though you know they're toxic, feels easier than starting over from scratch. But guess what? You deserve a healthy relationship. You deserve a complete partner who's not toxic, who will not treat you the way your avoidant ex has. You can learn to love again, and you can learn to recognize that a healthy relationship is not boring. You can get there. Reason number 5, you're actually using your avoidant ex to hide from your own attachment wounds. You see, focusing on their problems conveniently allows you to not focus on yours. And it's very common that an avoidant partner has an anxious partner. And in fact, that's probably the most common coupling out there, are people with an avoidant attachment style and people with an anxious attachment style. And initially, the avoidant partner is drawn to the anxious partner's stability and grounding, but then eventually, as they begin to pull away and the anxious partner begins to pull closer, they begin to see their anxious partner as needy, clingy, smothering, and controlling. And that's when the relationship begins to go south, because the more the avoidant partner pulls away, the more the anxious partner comes in closer, and it's a never-ending cycle. And your obsession with your avoidant ex and their unavailability actually protects you from having to look deep within and being fully vulnerable with yourself and actually looking at the issues that you bring to the table. Because you might have your own fears about intimacy and vulnerability, and them creating distance on occasion actually is helping you feel safer too. And completely letting your ex go would force you to confront why you are attracted to emotionally unavailable people. Real quick, I have a free PDF guide called the 7 Psychological Triggers That Make an Ex Regret Losing You. And you can get it down in the description or on this card right up here. Reason number 6, you're interpreting their mixed signals as a sign of hope. You're probably stalking their social media if they haven't blocked you. And you're constantly asking your mutual friends for updates on your ex. And you're reading into every little thing that you're seeing them post on social media. And maybe every once in a while, they're looking at your Facebook or Instagram stories, or maybe they're occasionally liking one of your posts. And it feels great. It feels like they're giving you attention. And it makes you think that maybe they're reconsidering. They're probably not. And you see, these are just their attachment patterns, but you're reading into it. You're second guessing it. You're making assumptions about this behavior that are not rooted in anything real. And really what they're doing is breadcrumbing you by giving you tiny little bits of information or tiny little bits of attention, but nothing genuine and nothing consistent. But this breadcrumbing keeps you in a false state of hope. But that's terrible for your well-being, because it will keep you stuck and prevent you from really moving on and finding a real partner that you can genuinely have a real connection with. Remember, I do offer one-on-one coaching. That can be in the form of a phone call, a Zoom session, or you can simply email me your problem and I'll record a custom video just like this one and get it back to you within a couple of weekdays. If you want more info on that, it's down in the description or on this card right up here. And reason number 7, you haven't grieved the loss of the relationship that you thought you had. You're mourning the potential of what could have been, but what was likely never going to be. You see, you saw the relationship through rose-colored glasses. You saw the potential. You knew what it could be. You knew what you wanted it to be, but it was never that, and it was never going to be that. So you're mourning the loss of this false image of the relationship, and you're not seeing it for what it truly was, a toxic mess. You're holding on to the version of them that you only very rarely saw occasionally in brief moments of vulnerability and connection. And you loved those moments, and you wished they could be that way the entire time. Guess what? They never will be. And you haven't fully accepted who they were. And really, you only fell in love with part of who they were, and you were ignoring all of the toxic parts. But until you grieve the entirety and the reality of this relationship, you're always going to be stuck and you're never going to move on.